Thank you so much, Abraham. So to start, I'd like to ask a question. Is there anyone here that has ever said yes when their whole being was screaming no? Yeah, I see some hands, Melanie. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm glad to know that there are many people that are like me that sometimes say yes when you really wanted to say no. Maybe it was for a favor, maybe it was to attend an event. And so I started to change my perspective of saying no. Uh, the a couple of weeks ago, I was invited for a family event and I went with my toddler. Now, many of you might know that I have a little boy and he's going to turn 3 next month. So we arrived and the first relative tried to pick him up and he stood back and said very vehemently, no. Everybody laughed. The second person came and tried to pick him up again and he shouted, no. By the time it got to the third person, they were trying to coax him with like some candy and trying to tell him that just for 5 minutes, let me just hold you. But he stood back and said no. And something struck me on that day. It wasn't his reaction, but it was the way other people reacted. Nobody was offended, no one was hurt. People took it like it was a normal thing. And so something clicked to me, and that was that somewhere along the line, we as adults missed something that came so naturally to us, and that is the ability to say no. So I ask, why do people say no? For me, I believe that it's a trauma response. For me, I fear rejection. So I struggle to say no. Maybe I want to be liked. So I say yes when I mean to say no. And for those times that I really do say no, I end up dressing up my no. I paint my no, I over explain. And by the time I'm done, my boundaries are pushed far, so far that no one, the person I'm saying the no to doesn't know where my boundaries start and where they end. So no can really be a complete sentence. Now, I want you to imagine someone called Anna. And I know that we all know an Anna or have some form of Anna in us. So Anna is always helpful. She's always available. At her work, she always says yes to extra work. If she has a business, she says yes to all her customers. She says yes to all her employees. At home, she takes on the extra chores that she was expecting her spouse to do. She says yes to her children. Over time, Anna feels tired, resentful. She's not just resentful to other people for not respecting her time, but she's also resentful to herself for not having the ability to say no. Saying no, I believe, is a skill. And the real cost of saying no is really not visible at first, but it really robs us of meaningful relationships. Like I said, saying no can be a skill. And like every skill, it needs to be learned and needs to be practiced and it needs to be mastered. It may feel unnatural at first to say no because it requires us to tolerate some level of discomfort. Think of yourself as parents. As parents, you say no all the time to your kids. It's not because you don't love them, but you say no to guide them, you say no to protect them, and sometimes you even say no because you're too tired to do what they're asking you to do. So if we can say no to our children who we really love, why do we find it so hard to say no to fellow adults? Think about leadership, great people that we know and hear about today. They know when to say no. And the fact that they know when to say no is often why they are so remembered in many spheres that you can think of. Even at the workplace, the skill of saying no comes in very handy. These days, no has been taken over by something called the sandwich method. Don't get me wrong, I've used the sandwich method many times. But the truth is that the sandwich method gives you the sweet layer on top, then gives you the soft glow, and then covers it up with another sweet layer. Somewhere along the line, the real message of what you're communicating might be lost. At the workplace, saying no is also so important. I once knew of someone whose reputation preceded her. She was the youngest manager at work. She had just turned 30, but people will say all sorts of things about her. They will say that she's a no-nonsense person. They'll say that she doesn't compromise her stance. And I really wanted to dislike her, but I got to experience her for myself. And I saw that she wouldn't say no because she wouldn't want to blur her boundaries or to take on things that she wasn't sure about. So I learned that her saying no earned her respect and it created space for honesty. Honestly, she left where I worked and I saw great doors open up to her. So you may be asking, how can I say no? You can say no calmly. You can say it with confidence. You can say it once without guilt, no long stories. So if you take anything from my speech today, let it be that no is not a wall and no is not but that no is a filter. It filters out confusion, resentment, and it even filters out relationships that only survive on your silence. It helps you to live a meaningful life of purpose. And now, before I end, I want you to think of one situation right now that you're contemplating about saying no to. A situation that you know that if you say no, it will bring you clarity and it will bring you peace. Hold that situation in your mind and remember this. You are allowed to say no. No can be a complete sentence, and sometimes the most powerful word or sentence that you would ever say is simply no. Thank you.